On today's episode of Speak Shame with Dr. Connie Corrali.
There is a very clear impact when you do not use your voice, okay? You silence yourself, you suppress yourself, you don't feel good about yourself, you store those suppressed emotions, thoughts, opinions inside of you. But when you say it out loud, your shame shrivels, because when you give your shame a voice, it is no longer closeted. It is no longer in the dark.
Hello, remarkable woman. I'm your host, Dr. Connie Corrali, medical doctor, life coach, and survivor of sexual violence. And you're listening to Speak Shame, a collection of inspiring conversations with remarkable women who have faced and overcome adversity. By sharing their stories, my hope is that you may find strength, connection, and hope in your own journey, and that shame itself loses its power. So sit back, relax, and don't forget to follow the show. Joining me on this week's episode of Speak Shame is the remarkable Vasavi Kumar. Vasavi built her career at the intersection of therapy, performance, and expression. She's been a licensed therapist, a TV host, a voice actor, a mindset coach, and the author of Say It Out Loud. And the through line has always been the same: helping people speak the truth they've spent years avoiding. She spent decades studying how humans hold back their voice, how they hide in plain sight, and how their entire life changes the moment they stop performing and start speaking with precision, power, and presence. Today, she mentors leaders, creators, and founders who are hungry to stop shrinking and start showing up with a voice that actually matches their intelligence, ambition, and impact. Her work isn't about motivation, it's about expression, identity, nervous system safety, and the kind of visibility that changes your life. So thank you so much, Vasavi, for being with me today.
Thank you, Dr. Connie, for having me. By the way, it's Vasavi, just so your
Vasavi.
audience knows. Yes, it's
Oh,
Vasavi.
yes.
Yeah. It's okay. It's all good. You know what? Listen, I mean, I have a voice. I can use it. I can tell you what my name is. No problem. No problem.
Yes. No, thank you. And so
Sure.
let's get our audience familiar with who you are. So Vasavi, tell me, if your life story was turned into a book, what would happen in the first chapter?
Oh my God. If my life story was turned into a book, the very first, well, this is a great question. No one's ever asked me this before. The very first chapter would be about how I stopped completely doubting myself and how I had full trust, regained full trust, not just in my voice, but in my ability to be able to handle other people's opinions, what other people have to say about me, their comments, their criticism, their praise, the accolade, the love, all of it. Because my mother always used to say to me, whether someone praises you or puts you down, you need to stay neutral no matter what. You can't let either of it affect you. Of course, I'm human, right? Things affect me. But to answer your original question, the very first chapter would be about how I stopped doubting myself and how I regained trust in my voice to be able to use it boldly, loudly, clearly, and directly.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that as a first chapter. And I think the listeners will probably be thinking, okay, well, maybe they have issues with self-doubt. Maybe they feel like they can't trust their own voice. Can you describe for me how you reached that point? What was the work that you did to get there?
Yeah, I will say, and I even wrote a book about it. My book is called Say It Out Loud, and it's all about rewiring your inner narrative. I just shared this on my stories on my Instagram today, actually. And I was saying this to a one-on-one client of mine today. And I said to her, when your inner narrative, when your inner dialogue is immaculate, and what I mean by immaculate is there is no condescending tone, there is no harshness, there is no putting oneself down. It is just kind, it is encouraging, it is motivating, it is curious, it is compassionate. When your mind is a healthy place to be in, when your mind is a safe place for you to exist, when you don't treat yourself like shit. Can I curse on this podcast? Can I curse?
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. Absolutely.
I mean, I just did. But, you know, when you don't treat yourself like shit, then what other people say to you quite literally bounces off your back, bounces off of you, because it's like, oh, that's a you problem. You're the one with the issue. You're the one with the anger. You're the one projecting. You're the one who's insecure. I don't treat myself that way. Right. So that's really where it all starts. And like I said, I wrote a book about it. It's called Say It Out Loud, Verbal Prompts and Practices to Help You Rewire Your Inner Narrative. But that's really what it's about, Connie. It's when you treat yourself exquisite, when you treat yourself with exquisite self-care and respect, then the way other people treat you is just nothing more than you see it for what it is. You don't get personally attacked by it, right? Because you don't attack yourself. The way I treat myself is the standard. If you don't meet that standard, you really think I'm going to take what you have to say to heart? Not at all. I see where it's coming from. I see the kind of mind you have. I see the kind of insecurity that you have, and you're trying to bleed it all over me. And I won't allow that to happen because I don't even treat myself that way. So that's how it starts.
Oh, I love that. I'm getting the book. I think
And on audiobook too. It's on audiobook as well. Yeah.
Yeah, brilliant. And I imagine then, because we've talked about all the people that you work with, that you're helping to find their voice, what led you on that path then from having that point where you no longer have self-doubt to then wanting to help other people find their voice?
Well, me not having self-doubt is truly a work in progress, right? I've been doing this work for 15 years since I was 28. You know, I graduated with my master's in social work from Columbia University in New York, and then I became a coach. So I've been doing this work for 15 years. My own inner work has been a work in progress, though. I've been helping people, even with working through my own stuff, right? Like, you don't have to be perfectly healed to be able to help other people, but you definitely need to be doing the work on yourself as you're guiding and leading and navigating and mentoring other people. So it's not so much that it was linear. It was together. It was happening together. Me helping other people and me also working on myself at the same time. The two can coexist, and it needs to coexist. Yeah. In order for you to continue to make that impact. And as you evolve and grow, you start to attract different clients that are also on that same path as you. So yeah, but it's a both and. It's not an either or.
Yeah, I think that makes complete sense. And when you just talked about attracting clients, it leads me on to the next question in that, how have you found sort of the work that you're doing connects you with others who maybe are going through a similar path?
You know, Dr. Connie, it's just really simple. I speak the truth and I speak it out loud and I share my personal stories. And I say it in a way that lands for people. I'm very expressive. I'm emotional when I speak. I speak with emotion. Okay. I'm not emotional. I speak with emotion. I speak from emotion. So people really feel my message, whether it's a video that you see me post on Instagram, Facebook, or whether it's a podcast interview that you hear me on. People feel me. People feel me. They relate to what I'm saying. I speak the truth. That's it. And every iteration of myself, every time I grow and evolve and expand, I speak from that place. I don't speak from past versions of myself. I speak from where I'm at right now, who I'm becoming. So I attract women, men, out loud school members, which you're a member of, people who are also in similar places, maybe a few steps behind. Maybe they're not quite there yet, but I can speak to both the past, present, future. But when I put content out there, I am speaking from right here, right now, and the truth that I am living in right now. So I am attracting people exactly where I'm at right now. Does that make sense?
That makes sense. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And I wonder then as well, because I work predominantly with women who have been silenced by shame. And I see this a lot, actually. It's that kind of hidden voice, that inner narrative that you talk about, that I'm not enough, I'm not worthy. And you talked about some of the prompts within your book out loud. I wonder if you could give an example to the listeners as to some of the sorts of things that maybe they could start trying today.
Yeah. So if you're saying things to yourself, like, I'll give you a perfect example. As you know, you're inside the Out Loud School, and the price. I'm going to give you a real life example, okay? And this will be really good for women, especially who want to raise their prices, and yeah, really, really have their prices reflect the energy that they're giving and the access that they're providing in proximity. So the price of the Out Loud School right now is $37 a month, or $397 for the year. We're recording this sometime in February. As of March 1st, the price of the school goes up to $97 a month, or $997 for the year. Don't worry, current members will be locked in at the rate that they came in. When I decided to increase the price, the very first thought that I had, Connie, was, who's going to pay $97 a month? That was the very first thought that I had. Is that a limiting belief? Is that a small thought? Like one of those thoughts that keep you small and broke and underpaid? Absolutely. So I acknowledge it for what it is. And so this is what I said to myself. Why wouldn't anyone pay that for what you're providing? And then I said to myself, there are people out there who want what you have to offer. There are people out there who need exactly what you are offering. And the people who resonate with what you're offering and what you're training them in and what you're saying in your videos, they're going to be the ones that pay $97 a month or $997 for the year. I just checked myself, right? Anytime you hear that itty shitty bitty committee in your head saying stuff to you that just keeps you small and under earning and underpaid, or in shitty relationships or in one-sided relationships, you have to be willing to get aggressively curious. Aggressively curious. I am aggressively curious about the itty bitty shitty committee in my head. When I hear thoughts like, who's going to pay that? I'm like, where's that thought coming from? Where does that come from? Oh, this comes from me having discounted my rates for 15 years in business. This comes from, people telling me that my rates are too high. People telling me this. You have to get so curious out loud. So say the thought out loud and actually ask yourself, where did I learn this from? Whose voice is this? Is this actually true? What do I choose to believe? Beliefs can be changed. You're allowed to change your mind, right? So my belief was, who's going to pay that? No one's going to pay that. My new belief is, there are people out there who are going to pay me that price because they need what I have to offer. They need it. That's it.
Oh my
So,
goodness.
for all your listeners, get inside the school at this new rate. But no, that's a real life that literally just had this thought 72 hours ago. 72 hours ago and here's the thing, Connie, if I would have allowed that voice to take control, I would not have raised the price. And guess what that would foster? Resentment, anger, annoyance, right? Oh, just like resentment towards myself, resentment towards my school members. I didn't want that. And I'm like, no, I know I need to raise the rate because of the depth of facilitation and presence that is taking place inside the school. I did it so I was no longer, or I did not foster resentment inside of me. So thank God I questioned those thoughts and beliefs in my head, right? Because I think so many women out there, especially if you're living with a lot of shame, it is very easy to let that voice win. But I want you to remember that that voice is not yours. It is not yours. Maybe someone said that to you, you internalized it and you made it your own, but the original thought is not yours. It is not. I don't believe that we are born with an itty bitty shitty committee. I believe that that is installed in us. And if it can be installed, it can be uninstalled. But that is where we have to be willing to be aggressively curious with what we are saying to ourselves.
Oh my gosh. Make notes, people. I love all of that. And I think it's so true. And I like how you started with the acknowledgement of, this is the limiting belief that I'm telling myself. And then you just reframed it. And I have to say, as a side note, I'm in the school and it is worth I was going to say every penny, but every cent, if you remember, to join. And I was looking at your social media page today and I saw as well a post you made about Bad Bunny. And as I said, this is in February, the Super Bowl's just happened, but I thought it was a really interesting post about being true to yourself. And I wonder if you could just describe to your listeners what sort of analysis you made of the Bad Bunny halftime show.
Oh my God. I mean, I loved the Bad Bunny halftime show. First of all, I loved how all the ignorant, uneducated racists are so up in arms. God forbid we speak another language other than English and you're not white and you're not in the majority. My God, I have so much to say. Don't get me started. But what I will say, what I took away from his performance is this, and I needed to hear this for myself, especially as someone who is the daughter of immigrants, a brown woman, a woman born and raised in the United States and has never felt like she has belonged, especially in predominantly white spaces. When I saw him speak in his mother tongue, speak in Spanish, not change a single thing about himself. And look at him, he's on the biggest stage, right, in the world right now, performing the Super Bowl. It did something to me. It reminded me, like, I refuse and I don't have to change who I am. What I do have to change is what I'm telling myself, right? That is the only change that we need to make, is what we're telling ourselves and the behaviors that we are engaging in that don't serve us. But do I have to change where I came from? Do I have to change my culture? Do I have to water down my roots, my heritage, so that people like me, so that people understand me, so that people feel, gotten by me? No, I don't need to do any of that. I don't need to do any of that. And his performance was evidence of that. His proof is his show was evidence of that. So, I just saw this meme, this post the other day that it said people who don't respect other cultures or people who don't understand or like other cultures, that's just like peak loser behavior. Right. So it's just, I was very, very happy. It moved me to tears, Bad Bunny's performance, because I think so many of us, especially marginalized communities, especially women of color, children of immigrants, daughters, sons of, we feel like we need to whitewash ourselves in order to be accepted. I've done a lot of that my whole life. I've done a lot of whitewashing my whole life. I just don't do that anymore. And really grateful to my mother and father who came here from India to New York in the 70s. They refused to change who they were. They're very successful. My mother was a doctor. My dad was an accountant. And they just were true to themselves. Very, very true to themselves. They did not try. I mean, of course, they had to acclimate to a new country, which is hard enough as it is. But their roots, the language, the food, the customs, the rituals. Like, I grew up in a very Indian household. Very Indian household. So I'm so grateful that my mother and father, back then I didn't appreciate it when I was younger, of course, because I just wanted to fit in. Actually makes me want to cry when I think about it. Like, if they hadn't been the way they were, so proud of who they were, I wouldn't be who I am today. And I really like who I am today, and I owe that a lot to them because they did not give up themselves to be accepted by the majority,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I think that's beautiful. And I thank you to your parents. And I really related to that post and I really relate to what you're saying. I was born in the UK. My parents moved over from Uganda. And I think I as well appreciate now all the challenges that they went through to move the family over here. And I definitely relate to sort of wanting to fit in, but now realizing, standing in your true self. And so thank you. Thank you so much for that
Welcome.
post and thank you for sharing
Of
that.
course. Yes.
And yeah, and I wonder as well, for anyone listening who maybe is thinking about either joining the school, reading the book, what would you say to them is the outcome of being able to find your voice? Maybe one way of thinking about it is actually what would happen if you don't use your voice? But I wonder if you can describe it. I don't know if I've explained that clearly, but yeah.
I can speak about this from personal experience. When my dad died in May of last year, so first let me back up. I've been in business for 15 years. I've been on the internet for 15 years. Yeah. I've pretty much always been a vocal person. I've been vocal about politics. I voted for Obama. Like, I went to his inauguration. Like, I was very vocal about politics and racism in our country and just like the shit that's just like, oh my God, like what is, I don't know. And just everything that's so awful in our society. And when my dad died in May of 2025, I I shut down. Like my voice just, I here I am, the author of Say It Out Loud. I literally just buried it deep, right? Like I was the opposite of Say It Out Loud after my dad died. Um, and I was grieving, or I was grieving the loss of my father, right? So I am no pressure on myself, no nothing, but I definitely did not use my voice in a way that I'm used to using, which is very vocal and very polarizing and very opinionated. And I grieved for 90 days. I mean, I'm obviously still grieving. I'm going to grieve my father for the rest of my life, but he died in May, and then something in me just snapped in August. And I put out a reel about the neuroscience of talking to yourself out loud, and it hit 1.2 million views. And the reason why I recorded that video was because I was sick and tired of not using my voice. There is a very clear impact when you do not use your voice. Okay. You silence yourself, you suppress yourself, you don't feel good about yourself, you store those suppressed emotions, thoughts, opinions inside of you. You feel the lump in your throat and you're like, I know I can say more. I know I can be more direct. I know there's even more truth here that I'm not saying. That shit eats you up. The less you use your voice, the more shitty you're going to feel. I can't say it any other way. Like you're not going to feel good about yourself, especially if you're someone who knows they're here to make an impact, right? If you're like, if you know, and I'm not talking to people who maybe don't have an interest in doing this. I'm speaking to your audience who I know if they're listening to a podcast called Speak Shame, they have a story, right? And what I want to say is regardless of what your story is, it is so important that you share that story out loud, right? Because you never know who's going to hear it, benefit from it, learn from it. That is how we alchemize our shame. The more you keep that shit inside, the more that shame festers. But when you say it out loud, your shame shrivels, because when you give your shame a voice, it is no longer closeted. It is no longer in the dark. It is no longer this like dirty little secret, right? So the impact is on many levels, mentally, emotionally, physically, energetically, and let's not talk about let's talk about financially, right? Most of the people, almost every single member inside the school, found me because of a video that I posted on Instagram. So my ability to be vocal, to be expressed, my capacity to be visible, is directly impacting my bottom line on in a positive way. So you don't think it's going to affect you financially, emotionally, energetically, mentally, you got another thing coming. The less you use your voice, the more that shame continues to grow. The more your insecurities grow. The more of those thoughts and beliefs like I'm not confident, I'm not that starts to grow because you're literally not using the muscle to be able to express how you feel and what you think and what you stand for and what you're against, whatever, right? So yeah, it impacts every area of our lives.
Yeah, you put that so succinctly. And as you're saying that, I recognize things within myself, within other women that I've worked with or that I know. And so, yeah, I clearly see the importance in so many different aspects. So thank you. Thank you for
Welcome.
explaining that. And as we come to the end of the podcast, I wonder if you could tell me what you think, what you hope listeners will take away from your story.
Um, you need a place to say it out loud. If you cannot say it to your family members, if you cannot say it to your friends or your colleagues, you need a place. Every single person needs a place that they can say it out loud. Fill in the blank with whatever it is, right? Your story, your message, your beliefs, how you're feeling, what you're going through. We need a place that we can say it out loud and be witnessed and not have to worry about how is this going to be received? Are people going to get it? Are they going to understand? Like the liberation that you will feel when you find a safe space to just say it out loud is unlike no other, because so many of us, myself included, have stifled our self-expression, right? In some shape or form. For me, it was always in romantic relationships. In romantic relationships, I always tried to keep the peace, just because of what I saw growing up between my parents. So I always just wanted to keep the peace in relationships, and that always led to resentment, right? That always led to like, now I don't even want to be with you sexually, right? Like it affects everything when you keep that shit inside. So what I really want your audience members, what your listeners to hear is like, you really deserve a place to say it out loud and be witnessed and be heard. And that's exactly why I created the Out Loud School. And I want to be very specific, right? This is not therapy, right? I mean, you're inside the school. It is not therapy, but it is therapeutic. Big difference. I'm not offering you therapy. We're not trying to go into your childhood wounds. You can go to a therapist for that. This is a place for you to say it out loud, be witnessed, get some feedback on how you're showing up, how you're delivering your message. It's not just what you're saying, but it's how you're saying it. But the members that join my school are really people who have something to say, and they want to use their voice in a way to impact their audience, their current audience, or they want to bring in new people. They want to attract clients that are more aligned with them. They want to use their voice to make an impact in a bigger way on stage, on podcasts, on social media, everywhere that you can. Because if you've been through something in your life, and I'm assuming your listeners have, because it's called Speak Shame, right? And I think we've all gone through things that have made us feel ashamed. If you've gone through something in your life, when you don't talk about it, you start to isolate yourself and you start to feel like you're the only one who's going through it. And that is just not true. That is just not true. The more you say it out loud, the more you realize you are not alone. Shame festers in isolation. Shame festers in silence. So, yeah, that's what I want to leave your listeners with. Yeah.
Thank you so much. And I know that people listening today are going to be wanting to work with you. They're going to want to find out more about the Out Loud School. They'll probably want to read your book. Where can people find you, Vasavi?
Yes, absolutely. You can go to my Instagram at my name is Vasavi. And you can also just go to my website at vasavikumar.com.
Lovely. I will put all of that in the show notes. And final question. If you had to name one remarkable woman who has inspired you, who would it be and why?
I would say, you know, is it myself? I'm going to say myself.
Yeah.
I'm going to say myself. I have many beautiful, inspiring women in my life. I am most inspired by 20-year-old, 30-year-old Vasavi, who found a way to navigate this world, found a way to navigate the inner workings of her mind when she didn't really have a lot of support or really didn't know who she was, but she never gave up on trying to find out who she was and what she was made of, and was willing to take risks, willing to put herself out there. And honestly, Dr. Connie, I'm really inspired by the woman that I am today. I am really inspired of the woman that I am today, because here's the thing. I live alone. I'm single. My dog just died in December. Yeah, I put my
I'm
dog
so
down in December.
sorry.
It's okay. I'm child free. So I'm like, I live alone, right? And so I'm with myself every day. I know what I go through every day. I know what I navigate, the inner workings of my mind, the demons of my mind, which we all have. So I'm really inspired by how I lead, how I show up, how I work with people, how I treat myself, my creativity, my kindness towards myself and other people. Um, the fact that I am willing to put myself out there and say the thing, the quiet part out loud, because I know that there are people out there who need to hear what I have to say, who feel so alone and maybe struggling in sharing their own voice. I'm really inspired by the person that I was. And I didn't always have respect for the person that I was. I just thought she was really fucked up. You know what I mean? But now I'm like, damn, you did the best you could with what you had in your 20s and 30s. And now I'm 43, about to be 44. I really like who I am. Really, really like who I am. And I'm very inspired of who I am and who I'm becoming. Great question.
Thank you so much. And I am so inspired by you. Honestly, thank you so much for joining me today. It's been my absolute pleasure speaking with you. And yeah, I look forward to seeing you again in the school as well.
Thank you, Tani. Thank you for having me on.
Thank you for listening to Speak Shame with Dr. Connie Corrali. And thank you so much to Vasavi Kumar for being my guest on this week's show. Please take a look at the show notes for information on Vasavi's social media handles so that you can connect with her. If you'd like to join the community, head over to @Dr. Connie Corrali on Instagram. If you're a remarkable woman who has been silenced by shame and you're ready to reclaim your voice, then join me at my next free Shame Resilience workshop. You'll find the booking link in the show notes. And finally, don't forget to subscribe to the podcast to get a new episode every other Thursday. Until next time, take care.